Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Day before yesterday, we were sharing some thoughts based upon the commentaries of Swami Ranganathananji on stanza number 14, sloga number 14 of chapter number 5 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Na kartrutum na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karmabala samyogam svabhavastu bhavam. God is there, in fact, He is the mysterious power. Now He is there. With us He is there. In us He is there. Around us He is there. But He is not involved. He is not tainted. He is not affected by any of the things that are done by His power. It gives a lot of clarity that we as a separate individual do exist. It is valid. But we draw the needed energy only from Him, the very presence. So we were also remembering one sloka in Atmabodh where Shankaracharya says, Dehendriya Manobuddhi Prakrutibhyo Vilakshanam Tadvritti Sakshinam Vidyat Atmanam Rajavatsara. One should understand the Atman to be distinct from the body, senses, mind, intellect, vasanas, and always a witness of their function like a king. The Atman is distinct from the material equipment and their functions. In the presence of Atman, this is a very important word. In the presence of Atman, the physical body acts, whether the activities be good or bad. It is the same Atman which enables the sense organs to perceive the objects of the world. Likewise, it enables the mind to feel the various emotions and the intellect to think of different thoughts. Atman is the substratum from which all activities emanate, either in the form of subtle manifestation as thoughts and desires within us, or gross expressions as perceptions and actions in the external world. Though it is the activating principle, Atman remains ever detached, independent of all activities. It is a mere witness. It is never involved in or contaminated by any of the activities. In its presence, every being bristles into activity, but itself has no activity of its own. The Atman is compared to a king. A king sitting on the throne activates the ministers and councillors, ceremonies, entertainment, but himself remains a detached observer of them all. The word Sakshi is translated as witness, but it has a deeper significance. It indicates the goal of human perfection, as well as the technique by which you could reach that goal. So this is something, a food for thought for all of us. Because, God is there, but I am also there, That normally that's what we see. I am also there. I cannot deny. Even if 100,000 books I read, even if I attend so many lectures, even if I do so many disciplines, in our case Ramnam or Bhajan, still I am there, the chanter, the singer. So this is always a fundamental question. How do we connect ourselves with God? We believe in the words of masters. But at the same time, there is a disconnect. It has been beautifully addressed. It's a mysterious power in the presence of which everything becomes active, but none of them do affect the power giver, the great provider. Even when the chanting is going on, he remains as a witness. Papa's words are, be a witness to all movements. Detach yourself from them. Become the observer of them. Then you will realize that you are the eternal witness and the body is not yourself. Identification with the body will go. Witness consciousness will be attained. Mostly you can practice it when you are in meditation. It is difficult to maintain that consciousness while you are active and moving about. Many rules have to be observed for control of mind. Observance of silence is one of them. Who is observing silence? Let us try to find out. Sit silent, detach yourself from the mind, watch its activities. The watcher is the real you, the self-immortal. So somewhere we have to, during our efforts to develop a dialogue with him, develop a connection with him. Our prayer, yes, I understand. I really feel if you are not there, I don't exist. But when I am active, I am not aware of your presence. I know you are there in the back. Why don't you please make me aware of your presence? With this background, when we pray, we have been assured that we will be heard. So this is the background, and we will now go through the vision for November. Tomorrow we will come back to at the feet of God. Papa's poem, Ego One with Cosmic. All spiritual paths, philosophies, cults, creeds culminate in one highest experience of absolute bliss and freedom. Now the ego merges in cosmic I. The individual becomes the universal life. The tiny spark of self expands to infinity. From the editor. Education received in schools and colleges can be said to be complete only after the students pass their examinations. Examinations are intended to ensure that the lessons taught in the classes are by and large assimilated and absorbed by the students. As everyone knows, at the time of writing exams, students are not permitted to refer to any texts or allied books or consult anybody. The students have to answer the question from within, purely based on the assimilated knowledge of the text taught by the teachers and studied independently. Similarly, when we are chosen by God, by Him, to undertake the spiritual journey, He provides all that is necessary for forming the right concept about Him. He provides the methodology to absorb the core theme, and He also periodically tests us to verify whether the spiritual tenets touched and kindled have been applied in our daily life. Of course, He guides from time to time so that we get thoroughly grounded on the ideal, and He also protects us from slipping into pitfalls. Ram, the indwelling and all-pervading reality, who put Virat Papa on the path, guided him, protected him, tested him throughout the journey, and finally conferred upon him, as it were, the award of the fruition of life, namely experiencing oneness with everyone and everything. This is evident in Virat Papa's narrative, In Quest of God. In our life also, from day one, the Lord has been guiding, leading, protecting and testing us throughout. This reality is not known to us. Our sadhana is to become aware that He is with us throughout, like a parent taking complete charge of us so that we can feel free from the burden of life. The October issue of the Vision covered 8 points that are to be looked for while reading the above book. This month's issue of the Vision, apart from bringing out the rest of the points, also makes an attempt to identify some selected tests that Ram subjected Virat Papa to go through, and how Virat Papa experienced his powers of protection and guidance whenever needed. It is not a textbook of Papa. It is a manual for all of us. So going through again and again with this background, we will be able to integrate In Quest of God with our life. This is very important. Mataji says, Papa sets us tests at every turn in our life. even many times a day. We should not be afraid, but should face every situation boldly with Ram Nam on our lips and remembrance of Papa in our hearts. Thy grace, our refuge, lead article of Papa. The azure sky shines in the light of the midday sun. All nature is in repose, for not a breath of air stirs the stillness of space. His stillness is always there. God sheds His rays of splendor and grace on all objects and beings. My soul and body are attuned to Thy omnipresent Spirit and all the manifest world. Peace, peace reigns everywhere. My heart is thrilled. A soft glow radiates from my eyes. I listen to the sweetest strains of music that subtly resound through infinity. Yet I am one with the silence and pervade the known and unknown spheres. My God, my life, my soul, I am amazed at the lavishness of Thy kindness and love. I feel them at every moment of my life. My whole being I lay at Thy feet, and like camphor burn it in adoration to Thee by the fire of my devotion. Fire of my devotion. O God, all is Thine. All is Thine. Why should I be grateful to Thee? Am I not Thy child? Entitled to receive Thy care, love and protection? I had turned away from Thee many a time. Now I am settled at Thy feet for ever and ever. My gaze had been for various things, but now it is fixed at Thy feet for ever and ever. My spirit had wandered hither and thither, but now it is attached to Thy feet for ever and ever. O my God of love and joy, I am eternally Thine. Shall I say I am Thyself? People may call me names for declaring so. I speak as Thou hast taught me. It is the experience Thou alone hast granted me. Verily, Thyself and I are one. There never was a separation between Thee and me. It was all Thy Leela, Thy inscrutable sport that once made me feel that I was far away from Thee. O my Mother, my Master, Thy name be glorified. May Thy benediction pour in abundance on our distracted humanity, bringing them Thy ambrosial love, harmony and peace. Papa in a quotation says, as a devotee you are at once one and different from God. You are like the river. The river is one with the ocean. Still it is ceaselessly flowing towards the ocean. This is the wonderful mystery of God and His Bhakta. Hiranyagati Prabhuji. Hiranyagati Prabhuji. What's that, sir? No, they remembered this one. No, it's river and the ocean. River joining, you know. Okay, you don't have time. Anyway, you can search. Abdi Swarup Jana. Abdi. Abdi na Vellamal. Shri Ram, words of beloved Papa Swami Ramdas. Shri Rama, we may say, Papa is giving an altogether different interpretation of Ramayana, or the character of Rama. Shri Rama, we may say, had to undergo the trials and difficulties of forest life for 14 years as a result of his karma. Suppose we take it that way, one way of interpretation. If karma had affected him, it would have made him life miserable. If somebody says it is because of the karma, his life would have become miserable. When he was wandering through the forest without sleep for days, exposed to all kinds of dangers and privations, he reconciled himself to them and took everything in the best spirit and was always uncomplaining, cheerful and happy. He teaches how we should submit to adverse circumstances without a murmur of complaint and resentment. He took everything that came to him in the right spirit. That is the way we can put up with all unpleasant situations in which we are placed. But we make ourselves miserable because we want things to take place as we wish. In all conditions, we should submit to God. Never grumble, never complain, never be sorry. If this is our attitude towards all happening, we will be free. In the case of God, this is a portrayal, It is not a simple word. We cannot but be happy. If this is our attitude towards all happening, we will be free, we cannot but be happy. On the contrary, we want everything to happen in our own particular way. We aim at success, victory, gain, honor, praise, and so on. If any reverses come, we are disappointed. Gain or loss, victory or defeat, success or failure, honor or dishonor, praise or censure, all will be the same to us if we take them in the right spirit. This is called equipoise or equilibrium of mind. In the Gita, it is called samatva or equality. You have to transcend the pairs of opposites. Otherwise, you are like a scared animal at the sacrificial altar. You are afraid at every moment that something bad is in store for you. But you are in a state of equipoise if you are one with God. Do not strive to get things from outside. Then you will be satisfied with what God gives you. Contentment is a perpetual feast. Contentment is a perpetual feast. It can come to you only when you have got the self-existent bliss. It is there already in your heart. You have to be conscious of it. It happens only by His grace. God's radiance, beauty manifests in you by your chanting His name. By constant remembrance of Him, you can purify yourself and be fit for His wish. Words of Pujya Mataji. Papa tests us in many ways, starting with tests in small things. Just as a child is first taught how to write the alphabet before he can come to writing Om, likewise Papa tests us in small things first. If we pass those tests, the real tests, which every sadhaka has to surmount before attaining Papa begins. If one fails even in small tests, how can he ever hope to win the bigger ones? It is no use merely saying that you want Sakshatkar. You should be prepared mentally, physically and in every way for the supreme consummation. First of all, you should learn humility and lay aside all pride. You should become so humble that you consider yourself as the humblest of all creatures on earth, less than even the dust of the Guru's feet. See Papa's books. Every line that Papa wrote is stamped with the humility. When you come to look upon as all forms of your Guru, it does not become difficult to become humble, as it is a natural state. But then, when you apply to yourself the veneer of pride and arrogance and the conceit of birth, learning and so-called spiritual attainment, conceit of birth, learning and so-called spiritual attainment, how can humility ever have a chance? Instead, from whatever spiritual height you may have soared up, you crash right to the bottom. And then it takes a long, long time and a long struggle to again rise and come to the top. The only way you can protect yourself against such a folly is to make Papa yours. Cling to him. In the classroom, a teacher will often skip many lessons and talk to you on a subject you have never heard about till then. A subject that may not be there in the curriculum at all. The teacher may do so for the benefit of anyone, particularly bright students in the class. But just because the topic is not there in your lesson, it does not mean that the teacher is in the wrong. You have to accept it obediently as good for your own progress. Likewise, Papa, who tests us in many ways, may sometimes tell us things which on the face of it may not seem applicable to us, but all the same are meant for us only. Just as the teacher is anxious to help his students along, so also the Guru is anxious to help you accelerate your accelerate your pace of progress on the spiritual path. To take you to that state, he may tell you that it is day when it is night, and that it is night when it is day. Instead of arguing with him, you should accept whatever he says, because in such an acceptance lies implicit obedience, and that will take you to submit to spiritual experience. It may be very difficult nowadays to accept like that. But suppose we take it that he is also referring to the place where there is now day, when we are having our night. If the intellect is active, and if it refuses to accept, because a day is a day, night is a night. These are all physical truths. So how can we accept now that there is a night? According to Mataji, we should immediately think, oh, he must be referring to there is day and night everywhere. Something else. Beloved Papa's letter to Pujya Swamiji after adopting sannyas. Quite a few months after Ananta Shivan, the Purvashram name of Pujya Swami Satchidanandaji, coming to the ashram for good in 1949, he felt a keen urge to take to a contemplative life for some time. Actually, not for some time. He wanted to. Virat Papa immediately suggested that he go to Rishikesh, stay separately, independently, and also adopt sannyas. Virat Papa gave him the offer road, and also to select from the two names, Anantananda and Satchidananda, to select one as his sannyas name. When Ananta Shivan went to Rishikesh and settled down there, and as suggested by Papa, he adopted sannyas, and he wrote to Beloved Papa, informing him about the same. The following is the response received from Beloved Papa. On the occasion of Pujya Swamiji's 101st Jayanti on 12th November, it will be appropriate to go through this letter. Because as a sadhaka, it will help us. The clues have been given in a miniature form, not elaborate. But that is enough. Small, 5 or 6 points. 11th July 1950. You might be knowing that 26th January 1949, he dedicated his entire life to Papa's service. So by the end of that year or next year, early next year, because he got involved in various activities, that was not his intention. Accounts, this and that, so many. So one day he shared this with us. Then he said one day he went to Papa and told him, I am not interested in activities. I would like to lead a purely contemplative life. Papa smilingly said, you are doing a wonderful job. You see the detachment. You see the reliance on God. Papa immediately smilingly said, yes, you better go to Rishikesh, stay separately, adopt sannyas. So, and then he must have left by, say, according to a simple calculation, by February, March or April 1950. So as soon as he went there, he got settled down in a place called Ramnagar. Probably Chidanji Maharaj would have some great for it. It is a few kilometers away from Shivananda Ashram. And when he settled down there, he went ahead as Papa suggested. And he wrote a letter confirming that he had accepted sannyas, taking his blessing. Now Papa replies, 11th July 1950. Beloved Ramdas got your loving letter of 3rd instant. 3rd July was written. 11th July we were looking forward to it. Glad that you have taken the new name Sachidananda and assumed sannyas. You know now, from here we should be very careful to remember. You know now that your life is entirely dedicated to God. Feel conscious of this every moment. This thought itself will help you in realizing the goal. Of course, our hearty blessings are with you for your attainment of self-illumination. Do sadhana in a disciplined manner. Be regular in your early morning meditations. Avoid tamasic influences, either from within or without. Do not get involved in any external work, however exalted it may appear to be. Concentrate on the sadhana. Occasionally go and have the darshan of Sri Swami Shivanandi. His company, even for a short while, will be a source of inspiration to you. Keep before you the central truth that God dwells within you and that you are His manifestation. Let your mind always dwell on Him. Let Ramnam ring on your lips whenever you are not doing any meditation or reading. You may reduce reading to the minimum. Learn by heart stotras that elevate your mind. Be free and cheerful like a bird and feel assured that the divine is at your back and you are sure to reach the goal. Love and blessing, Ram. So we have been asked, our life is totally dedicated to God every time. Nothing else, nothing less than that. Then, whatever sadhana that is conquered, it should be in a disciplined manner. Today we do something, tomorrow we do something, day after tomorrow, no. Disciplined manner, regularity, perfection. Then, regular in our morning meditation. Regular in our morning meditation. Communing with God, placing ourselves with Him, mental chanting, whatever we bring in early morning. Avoid tamasic influences, outside as well as inside. It can be food, it can be company, it can be reading, it can be thinking, it can be every time I should be alert. If it is tamasic, I should avoid. Do not get involved in any external work, however exalted it may appear to be, because the tendency, Papa must have been observing, one will take to another, and that will take to another, that will take to another. Not that every activity is bad. Unless we get grounded in it, it is definitely necessary. So he says, don't go near any activity. People may say it is a noble service, but get yourself stabilized and established. concentrate on the sadhana. Darshan of Swami Shivananda Maharaj, occasionally. That will definitely help you. Always you have to keep the God dwells within, and I am His manifestation. Let your mind always dwell on it. Let Ram Nam ring on your lips whenever you are not doing any meditation or reading. In between, no? The constant remembrance is kept either through meditation, or through reading, or through stotras, or through satsang, or through Ram. In between, we may get some space. There we fill it with Ram. See how the edifice is built now. At the same time, the tendency will be there to read more and more. Our old habits. Intellect will not be satisfied. Just like, at the emotional level, we will not be satisfied hearing, bhajans, everything. It will keep us on that level. So reading, stop. We may reduce. Learn by heart stotras that elevate you. Any shloka. The slokas are in capsule form. Profound ideas given in a capsule form. Prayers. Be free and cheerful like a bird, and feel assured that the divine is at your back. You are sure to reach the goal. One more thing. When he said don't involve in anyone, the human connections, it gets expanded. Positive things will be there, negative influence will also be. That's why we find when we go through Inquest of God, on many occasions, he retires. Whatever said and done, he is one with the society. Every now and then he has to pull himself and then praise himself where nobody else, no human being, no connection. So we take it that this has advice that however noble it may be, external work has got a knack of, making ourselves mingle with so many people. The mind gets distracted, not getting focused. Just like for anything, suppose we are on the examination, tomorrow is the examination day and we have prepared and at night, nothing else attracts us. Nothing else. Even if there is a movie there, when many people come suggest that you go and see, no, you will not go. Your attraction is not, otherwise you would have fallen for it. Because you don't want whatever you have learned, till I deliver it through my answer paper. There should not be any distraction. This aspect, every one of us has to, at least when we retire to ourselves, we ensure that our mind space is fully occupied by His thought. So these are all on his 101st birthday. What was the starting point for him? When we say it is sadhana under the Guru. We must have started the sadhana earlier. But the sadhana under his Guru started with what? Clear-cut instructions or suggestions. And Swamiji was able to do it for 7 or 8 months at a stretch. Points to look for while reading Inquest of God. The vision for the month of October covered 8 points out of 16 that one needs to look for while taking up the reading of the book Inquest of God by Virat Prabhupada Swami Ramdas. The ones which are covered are understanding the great void. Everybody has forgotten. Ram, God, trust Him, surrender, universal vision, the aim, meditate and chant His name, constant dialogue with Him, everything is His and nothing is ours, and everything happens only by His will. The remaining 8 points are given below. Me and mine, the huddle. What is the melody that has possessed the soul, which has made life cramped, narrow, limited, bringing to it a sense of helplessness and oftentimes utter despair? It is moha or attachment, arising from the individual sense of I in relation to the body and therefore to the bodies of those near and dear to us by the ties of blood or friendship or material obligations. This moha causes our mind, as a result of its narrow vision, to move in a limited circle, identifying itself with the interest of this circle only. In this condition, our vision, starting from our individual center, radiates only within this circle and gets so much absorbed in it that the humanity and the world outside it are considered entirely separate and foreign to us. Bluntly, Papa is saying, true picture of all of us. It is within the experience of every one of us who has spent some thought on the mysteries of life that life lived in this limited vision is a constant source of fear and sorrow. We further know that the more is this vision expanded, the greater is the freedom and the higher is our joy. We feel that we are imprisoned within the fortressed walls raised all round us by our ego, and although we know that our freedom lies in breaking down these walls, our attempts at such a task prove futile, as we are conscious that moha has enfeebled us and made us unequal to it. It is this moha that arrests our march when we strive for a wider vision of life and the resultant action. We get through moha so helplessly entangled and caught in the grip of selfishness, greed and lust, thus acting and living solely for ourselves and our kith and kin, that the wider view of life is shut out from us and the great purpose for which we exist is either denied or forgotten by us. It's a conflict between the aspiration of the vaster vision and the crystallized selfishness of an individualistic view of life. Very moment we can see this stuff is tug upon. In the first chapter itself he answers all this. Periodical solitude. The advantage of resorting to solitude is that we will not have any human contacts which normally disrupts introverted thoughts. Here we are absolutely to ourselves, thus paving the way to feel His nearness and presence. We can verify this, through our Ramnam chanting, through our bhajan, through our inward journey, through our dialogue. We feel almost near. Somebody says, hello. We are out. In solitude, we are exclusively with Mother Nature, the pristine form of God. We have the magnificent, unsurpassing beauty and charm. Because in Mother Nature, there is no addition, Whatever is original, it is there in the form of original. When I do something, I change the ratio of forces. A blank paper is written by me, finished. An untouched land, a virgin land becomes, according to me, a cultivable, productive land. But I have changed the originality. Everything is there. But in the case of nature, we are in solitude, we are exclusively with Mother Nature, the pristine form of God. We have the magnificent book of nature spread out before us, a picture of unsurpassing beauty and charm, the spontaneous and blissful self-revelation of the indwelling God. Let us look at it, read in it the glorious presentation and the varied activity of the Beloved. Look on the infinite play of the Infinite One, and by deep absorption into the Beloved, the universal being, enjoy immortal joy. This is the goal. All else is ephemeral and not worth striving for. Solitude also provides opportunities to dwell on the attributes of God. God is within me. God is infinite. If you want, you can sit. If you want, you can sit. God is infinite. God is bliss. God is purity and peace. God is the doer and non-doer at once. God dwells in all beings, creatures and things. God is all. God is all in all. Thus seek the Beloved. Feel His presence. He is your own self. Find Him. Enjoy eternal felicity. That is why you are here. The next is freedom from conditions. Though initially, very important for all of us. In spite of hammering, still we are caught in this. Though initially traditions, customs, rituals, etc. do help in stepping on to the spiritual path, after a stage they become impediments preventing us from moving forward. The mind unknowingly gets stuck with these practices, ignoring the ideal symbolized by them. So we have to outgrow all such conditioning, try to reach the stage where the presence of God is felt everywhere with no prefix or suffix. And a powerful word of Papa, very difficult for all of us to easily assimilate. When the false conventions and ostentatious observances are broken through, the soul is liberated. For realizing the truth, no external paraphernalia is necessary. No garb, no sign, no cult, no creed can help us. The day will come when we have to leave all these behind and go to meet the eternal in the perfect nakedness of your spirit. Shedding all make-believe forms, customs and traditions. Simplicity, spontaneity and humility become the guiding principles of our life. We move freely with all, we love all alike, we break all boundaries set by the calculating and selfish human mind, we soar like a free bird in the infinite expanse of the spiritual firmament. We look upon all beings and creatures as the embodiments of the one divine, all-pervading spirit. Temples, ashrams, mosques, churches, synagogues, viharas cannot imprison our soul. We find our soul's delight and joy at all places, at all times. Freedom from conditions. If this is there, well grounded, and if we take up the book, we find how it becomes expressive in our daily life. Universality of religion. We want a religion which appeals to the inner spirit of all. A religion which is universal in its outlook and embraces all within its fold. We want a religion which brings love and joy to our heart, light and wisdom to our head. We want a religion that knits man to man, irrespective of any apparent distinctions, into a common human community on earth. We want a religion that teaches us to sacrifice our little joys for the service of the distressed humanity. We want a religion that would give us the sight to behold all the members of the human race as belonging to one world family. We want a religion that makes us realize that we are the immortal, all-pervading, ever-blissful spirit, and that God, we, and the universe are one in the absolute reality. We want a religion that would make us offer our homage equally to the teachers and incarnations of different creeds and sects in the world. Religion is, in its real sense, as vast as the very heavens, which grant refuge to all alike, as accessible to all as the very air that fills our space, as equal in granting its favors to everyone as the light of the sun. Tomorrow, when the vaccine for the COVID-19 is successfully evolved and brought out, it will not be limited to that country, It will not be limited to that person, It will not be limited to the faith that person owes, It is for the entire people. All that we enjoy today, it has been given by different people whom we don't know. That's what Papa here says. We cannot confine religion within the narrow walls of a creed or a society. So to be the votary of true religion means to be utterly free from all cramping limitations with the same equal love and vision. Saguna and Nirguna, aspects of the truth. We find him not going into the temple, going into the temple. We find him going to different faiths. What happens then? Normally when we hear of the Saguna aspect of God, our mind goes to deities in temples. We develop faith and devotion to the deity, thereby unknowingly localize the all-pervading reality in the image. Initially, to get started on the spiritual path, we do need such type of worship, but later on, we should either transcend the name and form and aspire for the cosmic reality, or retain the name and form, but realize that the nameless, formless reality is also in all names and forms. Hanging on always, that's a wonderful quotation of Papa. Hanging on always to an external prop in spiritual matters hampers our progress, because the vision lacks then the flexibility for expansion and universalization. The center of interest becomes cramped and localized, while the aim should be to comprehend and realize the infinite nature of the truth. God is Nirguna. His devotees create out of him a Saguna God. Saguna will take us to the Nirguna. The highest perfection includes the realization of both Saguna and Nirguna. If we leave things to him, everything will work out just right. If we strive to get through our own effort, nothing will be done. We will only flounder and gain nothing. He is, as it were, a diamond with many facets. He has varied aspects, Saguna, Nirguna, beyond. Prakriti as doer, Purusha as non-doer. Therefore, he is said to be all-inclusive, all-comprehensive, all-transcendent Godhead. He is everything and beyond everything. He is the universe. He extends beyond with infinity. Name is compared to a bridge uniting the two shores of water. One Saguna and the other Nirguna. You can have Saguna Darshan and Nirguna Darshan. Saguna Darshan is easy. Nirguna Darshan is difficult. But the name will make both easy. In Saguna, there is the attitude of Bhakta and Bhagavan, while in Nirguna, there is Jnana of oneness. The devotee on the path of Bhakti longs to see God. One who follows the path of Jnana longs for moksha or liberation. Seeing God makes us one with God. So the Bhakta gets Jnana also through the path of Bhakti. Saguna is secure and easy, but it needs Nirguna. Saguna should in fact grow, eventually blossom into Nirguna, into devotion to principles. Nirguna and Saguna are not opposed to each other. In fact, they complement each other. One must advance from Saguna to Nirguna. Nirguna also needs the warmth of Saguna to remove subtle impurities from the mind. Thus they enrich and gain luster from each other. Another point is sacrifice. Let the heart melt before the suffering of others. Let our life be placed at the altar of sacrifice for the relief of the distressed and the uplift of the fallen. The object of life is to give it away for the good of others. Else, life is not life but death. Those who live for themselves are verily the living dead. Be therefore kind and serviceable to others. Mind united with God and hands at work in the world, such is the nature of a true devotee and a servant of God. In this state, pure selfless love flows out of us towards all beings, and whatever we do, it is always for the good of all. Our actions bear the stamp of universal beneficence. There are no selfish ends to gain. We have no personal likes and dislikes. We have no cravings for name, fame, wealth and power. Life cannot be judged by ordinary standards. We suffer and sacrifice to the utmost when called upon to do so for the good of humanity. Without sacrifice, we cannot realize the divine power within us. Sacrifice of the ego and its attachments. That is the great yajna. The candle cannot burn without using up its fallow. So life is intended to reveal its glory of renunciation of all its lower desires and ambitions. And finally but one. Ram's tests come at all times unawares. The more we are reviled and disowned by the world, when we stand for God and God alone, the nearer we approach Him, who is the only real beloved of our hearts. Tests come to us in various ways. Ours is to be unshaken in our adamantine purpose and march onward with the spirit of heroic adventure. God gives us trials and sufferings not because He is cruel. We must cherish the faith that He does so for our own good. When we pass through sufferings, we become more and more acceptable to Him, for tribulation and sorrow purify us and so enable us to completely surrender to Him. Therefore, do not be cowed down by sufferings. Come out of it ennobled, elevated. We are safe in the keeping of the Almighty Lord. He may test us in various ways, but He never abandons us. He teaches that He alone is real, and that we must live for Him and Him alone, Him whom we can really afford to lose at any time. There is no acquisition in this life greater than perfect faith in God that stands all tests and trials. And finally, awareness of His grace. These are all the 16 points that came well up in our mind. If we can bear this in our mind and go through the text with this background, we will be able to really travel with Him. And it gets integrated into our own life. It is incumbent upon us who aspire to be blessed with a beautiful state of realizing our oneness with the infinite, that we ought to, on our part, possess a burning aspiration for the realization of our real spiritual eminence. Given this condition, it is contended that divine grace is sure to descend on us, changing us into beings of eternal splendor and joy. The above condition is held to be a necessary criterion for the attainment of the eternal divine life. But still, instances can be quoted wherein divine grace worked miraculously on the least prepared souls, granting them the knowledge and joy of the world, of the divine. Individual effort and initiative, so far as spiritual evolution is concerned, appears to be futile in the absence of divine grace, which alone should work in our hearts and automatically drive us on the path of spirituality. And then rising from stage to stage, we should ultimately reach the all-transcendent supreme reality. The devotee rightly says, O God, I would not have remembered Thee if Thou had not first remembered me. So God in His infinite mercy selects us, irrespective of our fitness or otherwise, for converting us into channels of the manifestation of His infinite power, light and glory. We don't know whether we will take test given by Ram from the book of In Quest of God. When we made an effort, a rough effort, it went up to more than 100 tests. It will be very difficult to bring it everything in the vision. Mind may not travel with the test. At the same time, we should know that every test is instrumental in turning our attention towards Him. Every test makes us aware of His presence. So somewhere it should be mentioned. So we have selected a few tests. It would be more. It may not be in this form if everyone can bring out the test by himself or others. We would request everybody to look through Inquest of God and find out the test according to you. That is the real sadhana. If we hear something, it's only for training our mind, habituate our mind to identify the test. When we identify a test, we are identifying God. We are identifying equanimity. We are identifying the trust and faith in Him. So many things. It was in 1920 that Ram first kindled in the heart of his humble slave, Viratpapa Swami Ramdas, a keen desire to realize His infinite love. He strived to approach and understand Ram is to recede from the world of vanishing forms. Because Ram is the only truth, the only reality. He is present in all things and in all creatures who only appear as separate entities due to their ever-changing forms. To wake up from this illusion of form is to realize at once the unity of or love of Ram. For experiencing this wakefulness, Ram pulled Viratpapa out of his narrow pond of the worldly life, flung him into the ocean of universal life. By subjecting Viratpapa to various tests, Ram was, as it were, examining his steadfastness on the path, his commitment to the goal, and also seeing how far he was willing to go in subjugating his little self for experience his oneness with the true self. Viratpapa passed all the tests. It should be noted that Viratpapa could achieve this state because of his unwavering trust in Ram and submission to the divine will. Along the way, Ram was also explicitly showing Viratpapa through experience his powers of protection so that the tempo set apace would remain unhindered and Viratpapa's trust and grounding would increase day after day. Most of us, without compromising our comfort zones, talk about spirituality and engage in various spiritual sadhana. This is a lukewarm approach to the goal supreme. Therefore, slackness in spiritual progress is experienced, whereas Viratpapa was out and out, away from all sorts of comforts and also basic needs. Yet, he was always blissful by maintaining constant communion with Him. Even a casual reading of the book Inquest of God revealed this aspect clearly. Now the question arises, whether denying ourselves comfort is the criterion for spiritual progress, and if so, how to apply it in our life. With this background, let us go through some of the tests Viratpapa was subjected to and see how far we can imbibe the lessons in our life. Test number 1. Whether one needs to become responsive to the needs and demands of fellow men while involved in the labeled spiritual practice. Answer: yes, we should. Incident from Papa's life. He came up to a dharmashala close to the river, found some sadhus sitting on the floor of the passage leading out to the main road. They were busy performing Ram Bhajan to the accompaniment of cymbals and ekta. It was at about 12 noon that the bhajan came to a close. Looking upon the cloth spread in front of them, the young sadhus observed only 3 quarter-and-a-half pieces lying on it. With a disappointed look, one of them remarked, "Since morning we have been singing the glory of God, and He has given us only this much. Hunger is pinching the stomach. How are we to procure food, O God? Is thy bhajan from morning till now worth only 9 pies? 1 pie is 1/12 of an anna. 192 pies make 1 rupee. Just imagine on those days." This question was at once answered by Ramdas. Whether one is to become responsive to the needs and demands of fellow men while involved in labeled spiritual practice. Papa was also doing bhajan. Papa was also doing bhajan. But immediately he responded. The question: "No, young brothers, No value can be set upon your bhajan. God always is kind and loving. He never forsakes those who depend upon him. Ram has sent through his humble slave money for your food today. He put 1 rupee there. 1 rupee on those days. In 1923, 22 and 83. So test number 2. How deep-rooted is one's commitment to the vow to live only on alms? Answer. Commitment to vows should be uncompromising. Incident from Papa's life. Looking into his own lota, Ramdas discovered in it 2 pies. Same incident, 2 pies. His heart leaped with joy. At the sight of these tiny coins, the first proceeds of his bhiksha, buying 2 small plantains with the coins, he ate them without pleasure. Because just before this, he had taken the vow that hereafter my life will be purely lived on alms. So some money was still there that he will hand it over to somebody that he did not touch. So keeping up the vow, uncompromising. Test number 3. Whether it is possible to actualize the essence of the tenet, possess things but not be possessed by it, even while possessing things including money. Answer. Yes, it is possible. Incident from Papa's life. Though he had rupees 9 with him, he did not consider it as his nor use it for himself. He was contented with the 2 pies procured as bhiksha. Test number 4. Does divesting oneself of money and other possessions help in maintaining constant God remembrance and total reliance on God? Answer. Yes, it does. Incident from Papa's life. Ramdas had then with him about rupees 9, which amount he handed over to Sadhu Ram, felt much relieved by doing so. To carry money is to carry anxiety with you, for it draws your attention to it now and again. On making over the money, he suggested to the Sadhu Ram to get the rupees changed into 1 anna coin, have them all distributed to the poor who are begging at the doors of temples, and this desire he carried out. So next moment he is going to be penniless. Now Ramdas threw himself more completely than ever on the support of Ram, with only 2 clothes and a few books, all his possessions in the world. Test number 5. Is it possible to accept all situations with a positive attitude, even when they appear to be adverse? Answer. By bringing the God dimension, this is possible. Incident from Papa's life. While traveling to Rameshwaram with the Sadhu Ram, his guide, without tickets, the ticket inspector asked both of them to detrain at this next station. At once getting up, Ramdas told the Sadhu Ram that it was Ram's wish that they should alight at that place. Walking out of the station, they came to the high road. Here the Sadhu Ram grumbled over the action of the inspector. To this Ramdas said, Brother, we cannot travel all along to Rameshwaram by train. Pilgrimages should be made on foot. But somehow, Ram was kind enough to take us on the train so far. We have only to walk a distance of 6 miles in order to reach Rameshwaram. It is the will of Ram that this distance should be covered by foot. Be cheerful, brother. A few more pages are there. We don't want to hurry it. Tomorrow morning we will take it up. So because it's a test. It is not to complete our reading, We are trying to absorb the clue called test. So while taking up reading of Inquest of God, all of you are kindly requested. You try in your own way. Don't worry about the page. There is no chronological order there. Any page, any episode, if you can read it as a test, and you can feel how the test was meted out to him and how Papa passed the test. It will be a wonderful journey, I tell you. So tomorrow when we meet at 3:30, at least some of you make your some test identified by you. Because that is the real sadhana of reading. And you do that. Because in Quest of God, we maintain Now we treat Inquest of God not as a book authored by Papa, giving us the narrative of his itinerant life. No, no, no. It is really a manual for our spiritual journey. Every time we should connect ourselves with it. Whenever we fail or whenever we forget, open the manual and take the tool, repair it. How do we make a beginning? Tomorrow you make a beginning. Identify anything that you feel you are prompted as test meted out by Ram to go. You will surely get. And it will be a wonderful, blissful journey. May you all be able to do so in our prayer. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai